Hey guys, Nuie here, and this will be the new game on my channel as promised. This is Elder Scrolls Legends. It's published by Bethesda, and it's a free-to-play game. There is a bit of cash shop involved, like the packs and stuff, but from what I've seen so far, there's no like advanced cards that you can there's no advanced cards that you can specifically buy with just real money, so it's not too bad. You just have to spend more time playing the game itself if you really want to get more packs and stuff. But this is not really going to be a tutorial because this is my first time really in this game. I'm just checking it out and seeing what it's like. So this is just going to be my first time through things I'm doing. I'm just gonna play through the storyline, see how it goes. I'm gonna play through just the basics of the game and find out things I like. Again, this is not gonna be my again, I'm not gonna have like a tutorial or anything on what you guys should do or anything. It's just gonna be showing off the game and my thoughts on it. So I hope you guys enjoy that. But getting into the game, you start it out and it's in this kind of tutorial start thing, and it lets you kind of choose your own class. So I just choose this cool looking cat guy, and then hops you right into a story, or it hops you right into a little battle here. Um, Now the weird when I played a bunch of like TCG games, but I've never really invested time into them seriously. So this is kind of the first game where I really started getting involved with them, like going in depth with them. It's pretty interesting, but it's not very similar to any other TCG I played. I played like Eridan and a couple other card games, but none of them really have like systems the way this is set up. So it was a little bit weird to me. Yeah, I used to play Magic the Gathering all the time, but and it's kind of close to that, but it's not really the same. The game itself is played across two different lanes instead of just one lane where you put your creatures and stuff. So it's a little bit more challenging in terms of that. And as I started playing, I realized that there was really no if no creature had guard on your team, which is an ability. You'll see it later. If no creature has guard on your side, they're just free to attack you as much as they want. So, and I didn't notice it here when I was doing the tutorial because they tell you to just attack other creatures and just kill other creatures. So I was just really focused on that. But as I started spending time in the game, I realized that unless you have a guard creatures, you can just go at people's life points. You don't actually have to focus a lot on their creatures. So I thought that was really interesting. The other thing that is kind of unique to this game is the kind of shadow lanes. It's these little. It doesn't come up in this early of those games. This is just a basic tutorial part. But later you get these kind of shadow lanes on the sides, and it's these two. Basically, you can put monsters that'll be in the shadow lanes, and they're hidden and they're unattackable until after they attack. So I found that was really interesting because I hadn't really played any games where you can just kind of invis monsters. It's also interesting because you never actually have to tap or untap monsters in this game. You just kind of they just miss a turn. Like the turn they're summoned, unless they have another ability which is called charge, they can't like attack on the first turn they're played. So it kind of lets you get a little bit more strategic about what you're gonna do. But yeah, so yeah, that's like those. I guess those are basically the main features I found the most interesting about this game. At least so far as this. But yeah, even basically playing through this game, I've started to really enjoy basic elements of it, but I've started also get very distracted because I started just making my own deck. Like they give you a bunch of beginners decks as you're playing through the storyline, but I didn't find them any. They didn't really suit my playstyle. But luckily, as soon as you get to like a couple levels in, you can just go to the main screen. I think it's right after the beginning storyline, or the first arc, I should say. I think right after that they let you open up and you can actually just create your own decks. So I ended up doing that, and that's when I really started having more fun in this game because it brought a whole another customization level to everything, where I could really play to my play style, instead of just having to like take cards and stuff that they suggest. I could really play to my own play style and develop my own uniqueness to my decks and stuff. But as you can see, like even just winning basic stuff, there's a leveling system. There's different classes for each cards. So I just found it was interesting, and the storyline itself is actually really in depth. Like I didn't expect it to be as in depth as it is, but it's actually very interesting the way they have it set it up. They have it. You end up looking at a lot of these kind of screens here that show you the like storyline, and then up above is that little list. There is the actual storyline, so you can see how I'm going through. And I played through the prologue, the first chapter, and this is the second chapter. But this is only the first real arc, I want to call it. So you just kind of have to play through all of them. I don't know exactly how many they are because I'm really like I said, I'm really just starting out. But it's really it's really starting to get into an interesting storyline. Um, but yeah, this is what I meant by they show you there's a two lane type of style to this game where you set up, and I didn't realize this at first. I As I started playing, I started figuring it out. But if you actually set up both lanes, you have to be aware of both lanes at the same time. You can't just fill one lane and just keep attacking that lane, because then all they have to do is just put one guard into the other lane, and like it can be like a regenerative guard, something that will just sit there and soak all your damage and won't really be easily killed, and then they can attack from the other lane. So you have to be very conscious of both lanes. You can't just focus on one. So I'm at it's not really it's not as heavily exploited in beginning storylines. Like it's not a big deal. I just started playing around with it a little bit in this one because I was just like, all right, so how does it work? But basically the both same things. Like if you put one, it's not any different. It's not like you can put one creature in this lane and it'll get to attack immediately. It's just like each lane allows you to have your own kind of strategy into it, and you have to play to both sides' strategies. So, but you can also like cards like this card that I currently have on out in the field um will boost different attributes for your other opponents, and then there's also cards like this that you'll automatically deal damage. Um, but as you can see, you can go cross dimensionally with the attacks from that. So it's not just limited to one lane or the other. They're intertwined lanes, and that's what made this game very, very interesting to me when I started going through it, because it's just like it gets very complex with how you can handle things. Like as you can see, he just destroyed a different lane, but he also set up the defense in this lane. So I have to both be aware of the fact that he now has a defensive monster. I'll say with a quote, because it technically doesn't have guards, so it doesn't actually stop me from attacking, but it is there, so that means he can kill my monsters with it. So that's why I tended to take care of them first, not realizing that I could just ignore them and then attack. So when you really start playing, you realize that some opportunities you have to actually take the time to kill these monsters. You can't just ignore them. You have to focus these monsters down and get kind of to make sure you can get these advantages. And then there's the other portion of cards, which are called actions, which allow an instant ability. The actions they give you in the beginning of the game pretty much set it up so that you almost cannot lose the tutorial. Like the first probably 4 chapters are just basic tutorials, nothing important. It shows you basics of the game. It gives you a couple cards to get going in the game. But it's like as you go, you start to develop your own kind of play style, how you want to do things, and then that's when it really opens up and lets you create your own decks and get started. Um, but yeah, as I just kept going, like I've almost skipped something. Like you can't really skip these storylines. I don't know if you can. I just haven't really tried. Like they're interesting, but I haven't really gotten sucked into the storyline. Like I played Skyrim, I played Elder Scrolls, like I played those games, so I'm somewhat aware of the world and all of that. But this game feels almost different because it's not so much focused on story driven, it's focused on the actual combat. Like I guess I will be running through the whole campaign. I'm gonna get videos out on every single episode, but it's very focused on like actively paying attention to the card game. The card game itself is very detailed. It's well designed. As you can see, I don't really have any lag, and this is an online game, so you do have to have connected to the internet or something. But um, but as you can see, I don't really have a lot of lag with my game, and it's just kind of smooth gameplay. It doesn't have a timer or anything, so you're allowed to take your time and really develop your game. I haven't gotten into any arenas or any like player versus player kind of stuff, so I don't know if there's actual timers in that aspect of it. But when you're coming through the storyline, there's no timers, so you can be sure to take your time and think out your moves, and that way you can get a more effective time in the game. But as you can see, like I was honestly, I don't think I had any trouble for a while in this, but I do think I misplayed like once just to see if what would happen from it. It's not, I don't know if it's this early. I think it's a bit later, but I actually misplayed on purpose to see like okay, how effective is a misplay? How bad is a misplay? And to be honest, having a misplay in this game, it can be very punishing. The AIs themselves don't seem to be as adaptive. Like the deck is not going to change. Like their decks are not going to change time to time, so you can build your own deck to destroy that particular level or portion of the chapter. But even with that, it still showed me that like you can be very punished in this game for making misplays or not doing correct plays. Um, so you really have to be aware of how you build your deck. Each monster has this number, that number on the side, by the way. So you see the 3 and the 4, and those are how much magic it costs to actually summon the monster. So when you go first, you don't you only start with one, and then you can basically you can just kind of set cards. You don't really have a lot you can super accomplish with the first turn, at least as far as the basic decks. But as you develop more cards, you can get a couple of zero cost cards, one cost cards that you can let you set up you can kind of set up how you want to dictate the game from that. But when you go second, you get almost it almost feels like an advantage, but it's not specifically an advantage because it lets you get a ring that gives you one extra mana and you get 3 charges of it. So it lets you kind of get monsters out to defend yourself, but it doesn't particularly give you a huge like advantage. It's something that you can use to give yourself an advantage, but it's not something that directly gives you an advantage, if you understand what I mean. Like if you're able to think about how you can best utilize it, then it will give you an advantage. But if you're not, and you just misutilize it and just kind of use all 3 charges, which is what I did when I first started because I didn't really understand how important it could be, um, then it can be it really doesn't give you as much an advantage as you need. Like right there, I had a 7-3. He has no blocks. I could have just attacked straight and just ended the game. But I didn't realize that because they don't tell you that so early into the game. So I just ended up doing this game, and then the game kind of continues on. These kind of things, because this is the tutorial, it's not a mistake because it tells you how to do it, and this is what they're trying to set you up for. But later, towards the end of the game, as you get going, things like that are mistakes. You need to, if you have opportunities to get damage on your opponent, go for the damage. If you have opportunities to set up a strong defense because you don't have any particular way to stop their particular attributes, then be sure to set up defenses. Like always be aware of the counter plays and how the game flow is going. Like as you can see right now, I do have it set up where I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win because he has no guards, and I can just straight up attack on my left wing and just end the game. I'm also super far ahead. I have 20 health, so I have a bunch of health I can just play around with. And That way I can kind of make a few mistakes, but without really getting super punished. But I don't want to do that. So my thought process is always I'm gonna set up defense and then I'm gonna attack. I don't particularly like to just attack and just go at it without it. I don't particularly like to just not think about each move. So I'll take the time to think each move. And I feel like this game is really going to be oriented, as I play through it, is really going to be oriented on correctly making decisions like that. Like, I don't want to rush things. I don't want to be too difficult. So like, I understand you guys may want to see me kind of blow through this, but as a player, I just can't. I won't do that. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to be attempting to actually beat the game itself, but I'm going to do it in the way that I would play. I'm going to do it in the way that I'm going to be focused on it. But yeah. So those are just my beginning thoughts. As I said, this game is a free-to-play game, so anyone, you can just join me. Um, I will probably leave my character's name below, so you guys can add me on this and send me a game request. After I beat the storyline, I probably am planning on doing some like PvP, seeing how competitive, seeing how difficult it is, and I'll probably even do I'll probably open up to some viewers and see if you guys want to go against me a couple times, and I'll do some recordings on that. But I hope you guys enjoy this series. I've got a ton of it recorded because I've just been in this game so much, so I'll be sure to get it out each week. Once again, I'll probably do it Wednesdays and Thursdays. Thank you guys for checking this out, and I'll catch you all later.
Heaven sent my residence, it's evident, just visiting.